Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Non-profit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use.
The views expressed at or through this broadcast is those of the individual host and guests in their individual capacities only. The information provided on this broadcast does not and is not intended to constitute legal advice. Instead, all information, content, and material available on this broadcast are for general informational purposes only. All viewers should contact their attorney to obtain advice with respect to any and all.
Hey, you a big grown hulk, 25, 30 years old, you blaming your mother and your father for your shortcoming? Don't you realize that you are now the master of your destiny? And if you as a grown person want to continue to blame the white man, blame your father, blame your mother, blame the educator. I had a bad teacher. I went to that dumb school over there. I was in reform school. I went to jail. I went to here. Every place you've been is school. And if you learn what you're supposed to learn, you come out of wherever you've been with a determination to become your own master.
All right. Peace and blessings, y'all. I had to give you that one for the great minister, Louis Farrakhan, the honorable minister, Louis Farrakhan. I had to give it to you because I got a great guest on tonight. Listen, we're going to do a little bit of things different. We moved to a new streaming platform. So let me just give it to you in one shot, y'all. I am not your psychiatrist. I am not your savior. I am your wake-up call. You can say this is your hard reset. And this is the Hard Talk with Jakim show. And tonight we have my brother from another mother, Mr. John Muhammad, and we're going to be talking about his great book that he has written, and we're going to get into it. If you're from Wilmington, Delaware, you can tune in now. Tune in if you're from New York City, which I got a lot of people from New York City. I'm not going to talk so much about politics tonight. Usually I do. Y'all know I do. I'm not going to talk, but we're going to talk about what is the opposite of politics in my books, civics. So listen, without further ado, let me just welcome my brother, John Muhammad. Peace and blessings, brother. Assalamu alaikum.
The Hard Talk.
Wa alaikum salam, brother Jakim. Peace and blessings to you and the Hard Talk family. Honored to be with you tonight, my dear brother.
All right. Well, it's an honor to be with you, man. Let me put some, again, I'm on a new platform. We're going to go to this new platform, but we're going to talk about a book that my brother has written. And this is the book. And I want y'all to understand this one that he gave to me, I'm actually going to gift to somebody else. I want y'all to get out there and pick it up. John, my brother, you don't mind if I call you brother, because I get tired of just calling first name and last name with family. You know what I mean?
I love it. I love it.
What inspired you to actually write this book?
Well, my dear brother, again, greetings to you and the Hard Talk family. I've been working with young people since a few years after the Million Man March. We were thrust into the community as young community leaders fresh out of college, and I was thrown into the fire. But little did I know that would be my calling, working with young people and mentoring them. And after 25 years, sometimes you're in the trenches so long, you're running from fire to fire. You're putting out fires. You're doing eulogies. You're doing conflict resolution. You don't get a chance to reflect. So I had a chance to reflect after 25 years about what I see as a trend. And when you do something for 25 years, you kind of know what you're looking at. And so I wanted to put out a book that parents, teachers, and young people can read to see a boots on the ground view of what our young people are going through.
Brother, this is one of those things that you have to do this type of work in order to get to the folks. And this is the work that needs to be done. Not so much of those photo ops and always taking pictures with so-called power brokers and political elites. And that's why I enjoyed, I read the first 3 chapters, I have to say that. I enjoyed the way the book was being written. And again, we're going to say it. If you don't know the book, I want you to go pick it up from Brother John Muhammad. Can they get it at Amazon, brother?
Absolutely, my brother. They can get it at Amazon. They can go to Africa World Press, of course, Red Sea Press. Black distributors, and they can go to my website, Gang Movement, GANG movement.com. It stands for Going After the Next Generation.
Yes, and you know I love that. When I saw it on Instagram, I said, "Oh, that's my brother's joint." I know it. You know, one of the things that a lot of our viewers on the Hard Talk with Jakim show seen is that they know that I used to work in corrections in New York City for over 21 years of service. And I used to do all the Ramadans. I worked maximum security. So everybody who knows Brother Muhammad, and if you was in jail and you would ever argue with me about religion or stuff like that, y'all know we get into it. But one of the things we always talked about once I got off of the job was to go back to the community, even while I was on the job, you know. When you're a Muslim brother as an officer, they always want to put you doing Ramadan and, of course, doing Juma Salat and stuff like that. So I used to always do that. But one of the things that used to always come to me, I always felt that too many of you got to go to jail to find God. How do you feel about that, my brother?
Well, you know, that's one of the reasons, my brother, that I started Gang. I started in New Jersey when the East Coast was hit with the blood Crip phenomenon. You know, growing up in the golden era of hip hop, we didn't have that. But once Snoop came and, you know, right. Dr. Dre came and, you know, it hit us. And, you know, the gang culture of the Bloods and Crips came throughout our neighborhood like a coronavirus,
yes,
going through music. And so I wanted to start a preventative program, you know, so that we can reach our brothers before they get to prison. You
That's
know,
right.
Some of our brightest you don't have to go to prison to change and to be a change agent.
Yes, you're absolutely right. And I will apologize to some of our viewers that you may see a glitch in our brother Muhammad. But don't worry about it. The message is coming through. Just worried about that, because remember, we got a lot of people on Zoom right now. So we've got a lot of people coming in on there. You're absolutely right, because when I used to be in Department of Corrections, one of the things used to always tell me that they either go into jail to find God, or, you know, the only other two things is to fight and talk about things that don't matter. But we're trying to prevent that. And that's what we are out here in Newcastle, in Wilmington, in the state of Delaware and beyond to do that. We need a new change. What do you say about that, sir?
Well, my brother, the book, Do You See Me Now? The Cry of Black Youth in the 21st Century is based on the African proverb that when a child does not get the love of the village, he will burn it down to feel its warmth. And I respectfully say, Brother Jakim, over the last 20 years, even up to today, the youth of Delaware, they burning down. Our brothers in Philly, they on fire. Our brothers and sisters in Jersey, New York, the youth are literally burning down the village because they're not getting what they needed at home. The institutions have failed them, and they're literally crying out. And when I go to the prisons, as I'll be this next week over at our youth detention center, when you get the so-called young hitters, the young killers, the young shooters, when you get them by themselves, these are beautiful young men and women. Beautiful when they're able to be to themselves. But they are casualties of war, Brother Jakim. We've been at war in our community, and our young people are casualties of war. And I want our audience to think, what happens to children in war-torn societies? They get neglected and they get overlooked.
You know, you're absolutely right, and 100% that we are in war. And one thing that I want to definitely emphasize to a lot of people who don't know this, anytime you go onto anybody's platform that is talking about Black economics and Black uprising, I want you to support them, because let me set this record straight for you. It's critical for you to understand there's a difference between volunteer efforts and professional activism. And since we are at war, and since Brother Muhammad said we are at war, no war is fought without money. So, no, not the Civil Rights Movement, not the Black Panther Party, not a fight we are in today can we give. So we want you to support good works like this so that we will have the money to fight this war. What do you say about that, brother?
My brother, I love it. I love it. We have to put our money where our mouth is. I will be offering myself and my 25 years of knowledge, and the brothers who work with me in gang. We have over 100 years of experience of working with our young people. I'm going to be going across the country because this book, I want to start conversation and dialogue. There's a saying, it takes a village to raise a child. If the child does well, then the village should take some of the credit. But if the child does not do so well, then the village has to take a part of the blame. So we just can't say, oh, it starts at home. Yeah, we know it starts at home. But 75% of the homes in the city are broken. So it can't start there. So we have to love our youth enough where we can meet them midstream. We couldn't catch them at the home. They're gone. We got to be loving enough and knowledgeable enough to reach them midstream. So I'll be going across the country having dialogues with our community because we have the solutions. We just got to come together and make it happen.
That is absolutely right. We have to get the connections. Last year I went to Memphis Tennessee, and I spoke down in Memphis, Tennessee. And one of the things that I found interesting among people that are our ages, we ain't talking about how old we are, but our ages love to say, oh my God, it's like this. It wasn't like that when we were younger. But you know what? If the kids are messing up today, what you're saying and what I'm saying, it's partly your fault. And don't try to hide your hand that y'all didn't have anything in this. Now, am I right or wrong?
Well, my brother, they say the fruit don't fall too far from the tree.
That's right.
And as an example, when I wrote the book, I had to reflect on my life. When I was growing up with a Jakim, I used to hear parents always talk about how when they were growing up, if they were down the street, if Miss Ann said something, they could get checked by Miss Ann and Mr. Joe. And then by the time they got home, they got it from their mother or father. Unfortunately, I did not grow up in that. I grew up in a neighborhood where if Miss Ann said something to me, my mother would check her.
Yes.
My mother or my aunts or my cousins would check them. So I became a monster in the village because the checking stopped. And, I had a frank conversation with my loving mother. And I said, Mom, what happened that I didn't have what you had? Because once I knew that my mother would defend me from Miss Ann, even though Miss Ann was right, once I knew my mother and my uncles would defend me, they didn't listen to Miss Ann. The language was, you leave him alone, mind your business. Don't worry about my son. So I'm like, well, you know what? I'm going to do what I got to do. And I put, I thumb my nose up at Miss Ann. So when that started to happen in the 80s, Miss Ann started to pull back into the house.
Yes.
Why come out and say something to these young brothers on the street when their mother gonna argue with me? So I'm that first generation where the break happened. So we stopped being neighbors, and I put that in my book. And that's why we call it the hood today, because nobody's neighbors anymore.
Right, and you're absolutely right. And I can't stand the hood thing. I always like to talk about community, but you're absolutely right. And I seen it also in the 80s as well, that there was a change. And another change was, today I was on the bus, and I'm a big advocate. If you don't know, I'm a big advocate for public transportation. I'm on the DART Travel Advisory Committee. And one of the things that I see on the bus all the time, and you see it as I see it, I'm on the bus, I may be sitting down, and a young child comes in on the bus, and the young child may be cutting up or acting a fool. And the young child is looking at me, don't know me from Adam, looking at me to want to correct them because they need that correction. So important. They're not getting it from their parents, but they looking at you for the correction. These children are actually looking for us to correct them so they can go down the right path. What say you, brother?
Well, the child yearns for correction.
Yes.
You know, I put in my book a story of a gentleman who was jumped by some youth, and his face was knotted up, Brother Jakim, and he came to me, and he was upset. You know, I said, "What happened, OG?" And he was like, "Man, the young brothers around the corner jumped me last night." And I was like, "Who?" And he said, "The young brothers that be in front of the store." Listen to his language. "I don't know why they jumped me. I see them every day when I go to the store, and I don't say nothing to them."
Oh.
And I said to him, "OG, that's the reason why you got jumped. Because when you walk past young people and you don't acknowledge their existence, then in their mind, they know you are the adult. They're the child. So they're looking for correction from us. They're looking for us to step in and say something." And that's why when I'm on the street, when the brothers were on the street, we get respect because we go right to them. They want correction. And when they don't get it, they'll take advantage of our fear. So the elders are fearful of the youth, and the youth are disrespectful of the elders. And that break has caused a lot of pain in our community. And that's a conversation we need to have.
And that's the reason why, again, we're going to plug the book again. And that's the reason why you got to get this book, Do You See Me Now, John Muhammad. Now, the other thing, normally I would have a lot of videos on, but I'm going to really keep it down because we want to keep our focus on what is important. And now you did mention something that was a pivot point in my life, the Million Man March. And when I went down to the Million Man March, at that time I was still living in New York City, and me, my father, my uncle, a brother that was a correction officer that was on the job, he didn't have any family, any men that wanted to go to Washington, D.C. that day. And I'm going to say, so I said, "Listen, you roll with us. My Uncle Jesse's in town. My father's in town. I'm here. You roll with our family to the Million Man March." And I'm going to tell you this, and I'm going to say this, and it might irritate some of you out there, but I have never seen a Christian or Baptist or any type of, and remember, I was also raised as Baptist. I've never seen anybody to pull that many men, and 85% of them weren't even Muslims, to Washington, D.C. We got to give, I don't care, all the stuff that you may have heard about the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, that in itself was a defining factor. And that's the reason why gangster rap and all that other stuff started going off the rail. What do you say about that, my brother?
My brother, hey, shout out to you. I grew up in the Baptist church too. Played the drums at Allen Chapel AME Church in the great little city of Asbury Park, New Jersey. I love my Christian family. As a matter of fact, our base for the Million Man March was at Allen Chapel AME Church and Martin Luther King Presbyterian Church in that
there you go.
Jersey. So we worked together. But, you know, I mentioned the Million Man March because I want to do a book on the Million Man March as well. Because even though it was 30 years ago, Brother Jakim, with all of the fratricide and the violence that our young men are having, why aren't we as community leaders using that event as a template?
We should.
To show young brothers that we can come together. Why is not the Million Man March, one, not being taught in the schools, but then I even challenge some of my parents. Why are you talking to your young male sons? Why have not you sat down with them on YouTube and said, "Young boy, you're 12 now, you're 13, I see you running the streets. Let's turn on YouTube. I want you to sit down and watch something." It was called the Million Man March.
Yes.
So that he could see an example of men from all walks of life coming together. I think that's a miscarriage of justice, that our parents today are not using that Million Man March as a template to say, look, we all came together before and we can do it again.
You know, I have to say this, and when you brought it up, and that's why I brought it back up again, nearly 2 million people, 2 million people descended, nearly 2 million descended on Washington, D.C., not to have any problems, not to have, and I've heard the minister, Farrakhan, say that at the time, our military wasn't even had as many people as the 2 million. So yes, they can't pull that soft stuff on me. I know the reason why hip hop, and again, as a DJ and a musician, I had 3 record contracts, and I understood that our first band that we were signed, we had a regular deal with Atlantic Records, and the name of our group was The Dark Image, and I already knew why they didn't want that, and then why they said, okay, we'll give you those little peanuts to do a demo deal or do a whatever, but we ain't gonna sign you. Not when we can sign somebody who gonna talk nonsense, who gonna talk foolishness. You're right.
Brother, if I could say, Jakim, the music, the youth are crying out in the music. They want to be seen. And so the title, Do You See Me Now? It's natural for the human being to want to be seen.
Yes.
It's natural. But when we are immature, that desire, that nature to be seen can be weaponized.
Agreed.
That desire to be seen can be manipulated by forces. And this is what's going on with drill music and the hip hop today. Young brothers are literally going on YouTube. And if you really want to know the beef that's going on in Wilmington or Philly and New York, you literally can go to the Young Brothers YouTube channel, watch their videos, and they'll tell you who got shot, who got beat up, who missing with who. They put it all in their lyrics because they're literally journaling in music, and police are actually keeping tabs on what's going on because our young people are literally putting the beefs.
Hold on. That's noteworthy, and let me just piggyback on that for a second. You're absolutely right. Actually, they're indicting themselves. They're actually putting themselves in the grasp of the enemy who wants you there. Now, let me just say this about hip hop, the way it has gone. If you have watched my show, you saw me put in something from the great rapper Kumo D when he said the first sellout in our community. Now, I wouldn't agree with him as the first sellout, but I will agree that it is a sellout. The first sellout was the drug dealer, because you can't sell drugs to kill my family to say I need the money for me to eat. I think Kumo D was on the right track with that. I think he was on the right track, but he wasn't the first sellout. Wasn't the first sellout. And what do you say about that?
Well, my brother, I think he has a point there. It's really a level of selfishness. Mm-hmm. And when I'm out on the streets and I'm talking to my brothers, I know you got to eat, little brother. I get that, but you are brilliant.
You ain't got to kill my family.
Whatever you can do on the street, you can do positive. So many of them, there's a fear of success. And that fear of doing it the right way, it's a cop-out. And I tell them, brother, come on, you know you better than that. You don't have to sell drugs. I mean, I was a young brother doing it, and I didn't have to. I was a wannabe.
Right.
One of my chapters, I call it the suburban hood culture, where a brother comes from a 2-car, 4-bedroom garage. I mean, 2-garage, 4-bedroom house, and he's trying to be a gangster.
Yep.
And that's real. They're in the suburbs of Philly, the suburbs of New Jersey, Wilmington, and you're trying to be a gangster, but you come from good stock.
Yes.
Your mother and father making over $100,000 a year to put you in a better position, but you choose the gangster route because really deep in your heart, you don't feel that you can make it. And you were like me, you were a wannabe because you literally just want to be seen.
You know, you're absolutely right. And again, I'm going to say what they say in Friday. That's it right there. A lot of times, I always tell people when I see them doing foolishness, I always say what Stephen A. Smith says.
Who told you that was okay?
I want to tell you, who told you that was okay? because whoever told you led you wrong. Now, let me get back to that. And I love this conversation. We're having a great one, brother. Again, I am talking to brother John Muhammad out here in Wilmington. And you have got to get this book, Do You See Me Now? It's a book for the youth, but I'm telling you right now, adults, this is you. If you're 30, 40 years old and you have never had the direction and never had the environment, because environment plays a thing, and that's what I'm going to talk to Brother John real quick about, but environment plays a thing. If you're not from an environment of success, a lot of times, even though you're from that environment, that peer pressure, listening to other people can steer you wrong. And that's what we talk about those, when you was just saying that, right, Brother John?
My brother, you're right on it. You know, there was a study done about 30, 40 years ago with the Detroit Press, and it talked about the number one influences on children. And at that time, number one was home, number two was church, 3, school, and then 4 was peers. 50 years later, that has flipped. The number one influence on our youth today is peers. So you have immature people listening to immature people.
That is correct.
Home is no longer number one. The church is not even in the top. It's music, it's that cell phone, and we become prisoners to that. And this is why it's called a cell phone, because we've made that phone our cell. Yes. And so they're listening to each other. And if the blind lead the blind, Brother Jakim, both will fall in the ditch.
You're absolutely right, man. And I agree with you 100%. And listen, I want you to listen to the people that are watching this around this nation. I want you to really hear that we're talking, both of us are talking from direct knowledge. This ain't no theory. This ain't no hypothetical. We're talking about direct knowledge. Now, I have seen this before, and I'm just going to pull us into this direction real quick. Most of the time, since we're going to talk about this thing. I'm going to tell you that if you're on, and I see it on the bus, and I was on Amtrak the other day going to New York, and the screen time that these children are having is outrageous. You are actually rotting their brains. Yeah. Parents, y'all got to do something about this screen time. What do you say about that, Brother John?
Wow, that's powerful, Brother Jakim. I was just reading about a study that says that when children are on the phone all the time, it makes it harder for them to enjoy the simple things of life, because the phone is constantly, creating the dopamine, the feel good. So they're going from story to story, story to story. And then when they put their phone down, regular life doesn't even interest them anymore, because they're not being stimulated all the time. So I teach the young brothers when we have our Boys to Men conferences, our youth conferences, learn the power of silence.
Yes.
In rich communities, the communities are quiet.
Quiet communities.
But in the hood and in our neighborhoods, there's a lot of noise, and it's hard to be creative. It's hard to get into self when there's a lot of noise. So this cell phone has become a big distraction. And this has become the teacher of our youth, and it's very dangerous. And I got to tell this story. I put it in the book. A few years ago, I was shown a video by the Jakim. A young girl, she had gave her phone to her friend to film a fight she was in. Woo! But while the friend was filming the fight, I guess in her excitement, the phone was jerking. So after the fight, the girl came back over to the phone to see the footage. And when she realized that the footage was jumpy, she kind of yelled at her friend, gave her some choice words, reset the phone, gave it back to her friend, went back across the street to fight the girl again so they could have good footage. That's the generation today.
Now, is that insane or what? You cannot tell me that that's not insane. You cannot tell me that that's right thinking.
It's not
Now-
normal, but that's the problem with Do You See Me Now?
Yes.
Because one of the young brothers said to me, Jakim, my generation, Brother John, would rather have 1,000 likes than a few loves.
Yeah.
And that stuck with me. They'd
Yeah,
rather
it is
have 1,000
1,000
likes
likes than rather a few
than
loves.
a few loves.
Well,
So we got to love on our young people.
Yes, I will agree on that. And let me just give them a little heads up. If you now, since school has just started, if you actually film a fight, you can be suspended. And now in the new era that we are in, administrators in these schools are not cutting you any slack. So I will tell you this, and like I tell my grandkids and others, if you see a fight and it's not involving anybody that's really you got to get involved with, that you got to scrap with, don't even get in there to break up the fight, because nowadays the principals and the administrators in these places have different angles, and it may look like you breaking it up on one side and may look like you joining in. So also, don't film fights when you're in school. That's a dumb thing to do. Don't film them. Go the other way. I'm just giving y'all a little bit of what I know. And all I know is a little bit. So if you're in school, they're fighting, go the other way. The reason why we're doing this, the reason why we're having this show here, and the reason why we have the Hard Talk with Jakim show is that I like to give it from my brother to the late, great James Baldwin used to say, if I love you, I have to make you conscious of the things you don't see. Wow. And when James Baldwin said that, they said, this is the reason why I'm preaching to you, I'm teaching you, because I love you. And that's the reason why I have to make you aware of the things you don't see. Okay, we're back again. So we're going to take a quick break real quick, and I'm going to go right back to that particular clip of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan earlier, and I'll be right back with Brother John Muhammad.
Here you a big grown hulk, 25, 30 years old. You blaming your mother and your father for your shortcoming? Don't you realize that you are now the master of your destiny? And if you as a grown person want to continue to blame the white man, blame your father, blame your mother, blame the educator. I had a bad teacher. I went to that dumb school over there. I was in reform school. I went to jail. I went to here. Every place you've been is school. And if you learn what you're supposed to learn, you come out of wherever you've been with a determination to become your own.
All right. We're back. Listen, with my intro, I always have builders, and that we need to have builders in our community. And I think, as I know, this will build our community. This and many other things will build our community. And in order for our community to build, we need economics. We need the wealth generated to stay here to help us build our own. Here in Delaware, you know, I've been railing about this tax reassessment, the school property tax reassessment, and the school tax, and every other fee that's going up in Delaware. My problem in neighborhoods like mine, I live on a planet called Dunleaf, and one of the things is that they do stuff in the neighborhood, the county, the government, the state, and they don't have to tell you because, you know, you really just, it reminds me of that Denzel Washington. Y'all just live here. And if we actually had the economics to do what we need to do, these places would be more of a community. What do you say about that, brother?
Oh, that's powerful. You know, my teacher, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, has taught us for years, Jakim, that politics without economics is a symbol without substance.
Yes.
We are the only people that get into politics first and think that if we put our people in first, then the economics will come. Everyone else gets the economics first. Then they come to the table, city council, as business owners, as
Right.
planners and developers. And because they are the taxpayers and the business owners, they have more leverage, and then they take over the city. We try to put the politics before the economics, but the economics must be first. And we got to teach our children economics, Brother Jakim.
All
They
right.
have to know financial literacy. They got to know about what a trust is, what a will is. They got to know about how to use life insurance, mutual funds. Our young people have to know. But again, children of war-torn areas, they're distracted, they're hungry, and the parents of the children of war-torn areas are distracted and don't have the wherewithal, nor the discipline, nor the time to give our young people what is needed to lift us up for the next generation.
All right. All right. It looks like I just froze up. I'm going to see if I can reconnect real quick.
But I can hear you.
You can hear me? Good. So I'm getting back in here. Don't fret, y'all. I'm right back in. Don't worry about it. Yeah, you're absolutely right. And one of the problems I have with that is one of the problems. Yeah, I'm back. One of the problems that I have with it is a lot of us don't really understand money, don't really understand the tool in which money is propagated, and don't understand the relationship of poverty to money. Wow. They don't understand that without people working, none of this goes into chaos. So that the rich people actually benefit from you being in poverty to chasing the dollar. But when they talk about chasing the dollar, they don't want you to chase that dollar. They want you to chase the little dollar.
Yeah.
They don't want you to chase the big dollar because they don't want you to be rich. They don't want you to be wealthy. They don't want you to have your own. What do you say about that, brother?
Well, my brother, it reminds me of the game Monopoly. Imagine 5 people playing Monopoly, and they don't let you play for 3 weeks.
Yep.
And then finally they say, okay, all things equal, you can come sit at the table now. But by the time you get to the table, all the hotels are bought up, states bought up, and the only place you got left is jail.
That's right. That's right.
So they say it's equal, but it's not equal because I'm at the table 400 years later. We understand that, but as you heard my teacher say in that clip, if somebody knocks you down and I come into the room and you're on the floor, that's that person's fault for knocking you down.
Right.
If I come back a week later and you're still on the floor,
yes, sir.
That's your fault.
That's your fault. You're absolutely right. And I agree with that 100%. And so many of our elders have said this time and time again into antiquity. They've been saying it. Stop being on the ground. Don't make sure you get up every single time. I can't tell you how many people, now I'm just going to quote one more from James Baldwin. The late great James Baldwin said, people can cry much easier than they can change. And I've seen this in my life many times. They will cry easy, but it will be hard for them to change. This is how we have to, you got to understand human nature. You got to understand the war that we in before you can get into anything to do change. Let me just say this.
Beautiful.
Folks like this and people who are doing great work in our community who got a platform, who have a social media platform or a television platform, I want you to start supporting them because now we have to connect the dots. We are in the final hours in our communities. If you see what Trump is doing and those that are his ilk are doing, because Trump can't do it alone. And remember, a lot of this he didn't even think of. The other people have.
Right.
If you can't see it now, that you need to get rid of all of that garbage that you had for your brothers, this or that. This one's a Moor, this one's an Apache, this one's an African, this one's a... Get rid of that garbage. It was always garbage. What you need now is to connect with us. What do you say about that, brother?
My brother, if the truth don't get you, the conditions will.
Yeah.
You know, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has been begging our people for years to come together. He's been warning the brothers in the streets that if you don't stop the bloodshed, the tanks are coming. He warned. And so our desire to be seen, the desire to be gangster now is being manipulated and is being weaponized. And the very ignorance of our youth is the spark that Trump is using, an excuse, the Trojan horse, to come in and mow our people down in the street.
You know what? And I'm going to say this. Yes, the minister and so many other people have been saying it. And listen, I've been saying this for over 20 years here in Delaware, and I have been 3 out of 3 already. Everything that I said in 2010 has come true. When I told you they was going to gentrify Dunleavy, it has come true. When I told you that you're going to do all this stuff and always back these Democratic people who ain't doing nothing for you, it has come. I'm 3 out of 3. Right now, if I was a betting man, and I am a betting man, I'm now 3 out of 3 with one of my predictions from 2010. That's 15 years ago. And y'all can go back and check it out. But let me just say this. Before we do anything else, my brother, let me just one more time let the people know where they can get this extraordinary book. Do You See Me Now? By Brother John Muhammad. Where can they get it from?
Yes, sir. Of course, it is on Amazon. You can go to Africa World Press, the Red Sea Press, and support our Black distributors, or you can go to my website, Gang Movement, GANG movement.com. Click on the book, and you can get the book. And if you want an autographed copy of it, go on social media and see me on Instagram, Gang Movement. Reach out to me, and I'll get an autographed copy for you. While I'm on that note, let's support Jakim Muhammad Cash App, y'all. That's $JAKIM MOHAMMED. Cash App, my brother. Let's keep him on the air. You know, he's part of the Air Force.
Yes,
you know,
yes.
In a war, the Air Force, you don't win a war through air, but you can target the people from the air. You can hit strategic spots. So as a brother from the Air Force, you're dropping bombs, Jakim.
Thank you, my brother.
Airwaves.
Thank you, my brother.
We got to support the troops.
Listen, like I told them 10, 15 years ago, I am not your problem guy. I'm your solution guy. The problem is you don't want a solution. The problem is you don't want folks to come up in the uplift of the Black community. You don't want that. And if that's your case, I got nothing for you. But let me just say this. We're getting ready to end this here thing. It looks like I just got a bunch of phone calls. A lot of people calling us up. Thank you for calling us up. I will continue to denounce the narratives that they perpetuate. I will shape the narrative of truth, and that's what I'm about, shaping the narrative of truth. Now, next week, we're going to be back with politics, national, local. We're going to be talking about some stuff. But before we leave out with Brother Muhammad today, we are going to say one more time, pick up this book, get it, make sure you get it. And, you know, let me just say this, Brother Muhammad. A good brother, Chris Muhammad, Chris Richards, I used to work with, martial art guy, and him and his brother from New York City Department of Corrections. We all used to work together, and we used to all run in the same circles. And good man. In fact, me and Chris actually wrote 2 songs together. So actually, that's big time. Me and Chris. It's been a pleasure having you on here. It's been a pleasure talking to my brother. And I want y'all to make sure that y'all get this book. Make sure you get its contact with Gang Movement. Am I right or wrong?
That is correct, my brother. They can reach out to you. We are ready to avail ourselves to come to community meetings, churches, mosques. We want to have forums. We got to talk to our youth. We got to get them because the future is ours.
That is correct.
Nothing to fear but fear itself. We got to
And that's correct. And if we don't get to them now, we gonna have a problem later on. And when I say the problem later on, half of these cats, and let me just say that, I know I was going off, but half of these cats can't even scrap. They talk a lot of stuff, but they can't scrap. And you can't scrap if your pants are sagging. I'm telling you now, you can't scrap with me if your pants are sagging. I'm just saying. I got my bags over here. I trade every day. Oh my God! But again, for the young brothers, listen to me and listen very well to what I'm saying and what Brother Muhammad is saying. It's time for you to be men. It's time for you to step up. It's time for you to let go of all your childish behaviors and your childish thoughts and be black men in our black community. What do you say about that, brother?
My brother, you are on it. It's time, young soldiers. Let's go. Parents, don't be ashamed. What happened has happened. Our children are ours. A youthless nation is a toothless nation.
That is
The
correct.
scripture says older men for counsel, young men for war. The young men are warriors, but they're losing because they don't have the counsel. So we need you. Don't be scared of our young people. They come from us. And the minister told all of us, Jakim, in order to save our people, we have to love them more than they hate themselves.
That is
so
correct.
Let's increase our love so we can withstand the ignorance of our youth, so we can go after the next generation. Thank you, my dear brother.
Thank you. And it's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure having you on here. It's been a pleasure having you on here, Bill. And listen, man, we're going to get all the other stuff going. I told you we're on a new program. We're on a new thing, but we'll be back next week with the Hard Talk with Jakim show. Peace out and love to all of y'all. Y'all have a good one.